Hey, I just got back from lunch. Did you finish that report yet?
Well, not exactly. Still working on it. I'm not finished just yet. I got a little sidetracked, but I will get them to you first thing this afternoon.
It is first thing this afternoon.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, I am working on
But
it. I'll have,
what do you mean that the report isn't finished yet?
I'm still in the process of working on it. I've just been a little distracted.
Distracted. Our meeting starts in an hour.
I can have it.
No. What were you doing? Were you listening to another hunting podcast again? I swear, I give the staff in this office the freedom to do whatever they want to do as long as they meet a deadline. That is the first bullet underneath your job description. Pays attention to detail and deadlines. And deadlines. Dude, are you even listening to me right now?
Archery season is sadly come and gone, but your shooting does not have to stop there thanks to Williams Archery's indoor range. They offer hands-on shooting lessons and they run indoor shooting leagues throughout the off-season. Now is also a great time to go get the repairs done that you've been putting off all season. You can also check out their new bow lines of Hoyt, PSE, Elite, Bear, Parker, and more. The new bows are awesome. Tell them you heard about Williams Archery on the Whitetail Distraction podcast when you give them a call at 724-667-9660. The Orange Army is closing in, so be safe and good luck this rifle season.
Welcome to episode 17 of the Whitetail Distraction podcast. My name's Austin, and joining me in my basement today, Charles Hedlund. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm warm.
It is a lot warmer in here. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of enjoying being in the basement, but, you know, it is what it is.
New views. You know, we still got some mounts down here to look at. We got a big liquor shelf, so, I mean, I'm okay with that. It's not as homey as the Rack Shack because that's what we know and that's what we love, but I'm enjoying being warm and cozy.
I am too. And it's hard on the equipment out there when it's that cold.
It's hard on everything out there when it's that cold, man. It's miserable.
My feet's is cold.
Oh.
Those heaters just don't do it, man.
No, we used heaters in the camper for this Ohio trip, but we just got it back from it, and they worked out pretty good, you know, for a fairly uninsulated camper with two heaters running. And we had it blast into like 75 degrees in there.
Ooh.
At night. Yeah, and then we'd turn it way down during the day when we weren't there. And then come back, man. I don't care. I could have put it up to 80. It's just so nice to sleep and not freeze.
I couldn't agree anymore,
dude. The first year we went out there and hunted, it was like 8 degrees all week long.
Beautiful.
Never got out of the teens. And we froze our butts off.
It happened. It's called hunting, man.
Oh, it was rugged. When you're outside in the weather and conditions for that long, for like a 10-day hunt.
You expect it.
Oh, man. But it wears on you.
I can only imagine. I mean, like, people say, like, when you're out in the heat, it drains you. Being out in the cold drains you just as much, man.
Hell yeah.
Especially if you're out there grinding like you were on a, 8-day trip?
We ended up being out there for 9 days. We ended up hunting 8 of those days. So we did pretty good, especially with the weather we got. I mean, the weather this week's been pretty crappy.
Yeah. We got an ice storm. We got some snow. The snow was okay, but that ice was brutal.
A lot of rain.
It's
really affected some of the places we hunted. And I'll get into that because it kind of threw a curveball into our plans.
Yeah, I mean, it happened, man. It happened. But let's get into your Rutcation recap.
Yeah, it wasn't really Rutcation because I'm not working. But it was more or less just a hunting trip. This year was a little different for us. You know, it was just myself, my younger brother Joe. My dad came out with us, and my dad's friend Brubby. And we started off with the 4 of us, but my dad was experiencing back spasms and all kinds of bad stuff going on with his back. He jacked his back up in the regular archery season here in PA. The night he shot his buck, I was helping him drag it out on the deer cart, and a log got stuck into the tire and just jarred the cart sideways as he was holding on to it. And it just, something in his back just clicked out of place whenever that happened, and it hasn't been the same since. So
that's no bueno, man.
He was feeling better, and he made the trip originally, and I think he stayed for two days, and on the 3rd day I think he headed home to hit the couch with some heating pad and more medication, hopefully to try to fix things.
Oh yeah.
Get him healthy for maybe extended archery, or down the road we'll head over to Ohio and because he bought his tags and stuff. He never even got to go hunting.
Yep.
So
I was just going to say, let's start off with where you went, but you just said Ohio.
Yeah, we went to Ohio, southern Ohio. It was the three of us then left in the trip. And we've gone here now for the past, we've gone here twice before, but it was like skip a year hunt, you know.
Yeah.
So we've had somewhere in between each year. And 2 out of the 3 years, or 2 of the years before this one, we've taken Pope and young bucks out.
Yeah.
And it's been really good. We've killed 3 bucks in 2 years hunting down there. So
It's usually been a solid area for you guys.
a real good area. And it seemed like after that first day, we got down there. We got down early so we could hunt the afternoon. Got everything unloaded, all camp set up, ready to go. And we've decided we were going to go out in the afternoon. So Joe and I went down a couple Sundays ago. And we decided we were going to do like a hunting, scouting, pre-hunt trip.
Yep.
And we found a nice new area that we really like. So I went in. I said, you know what? I'm going to try that new area out. I'm going to go in and kind of scout my way in and hunt. Just do a little hang and hunt. And he went over and set up his ladder. And I think he hunted that in the afternoon where he killed his buck a couple years prior. So I got in there and I got up in my stand. And man, I was walking into the stand. And it's a nice area. I mean, there's like a little triangle of this big high grassy field. On the left side of the triangle is a deep creek. It's probably 6 foot wide by 6 foot deep, and with all the rain we got, it was real deep. So that side is kind of like your typical creek bottom vegetation, and on the other side you have a hillside with hard timber, your oak trees, wide open woods. And then on the right side of that grassy field you have just this nasty, gnarly, like perfect rabbitat type vegetation.
I love the rabbitat.
Perfect rabbitat, just high, nasty, thick stuff. And it's kind of a little creek that runs off through there. So I'm walking down and I'm catching some really big tracks coming back in. And I'm right off the bat, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm already in on this. This is perfect. And I've done my map scouting. I knew where I wanted to get to. In the back end of this triangle, you have thick on each side, and in the very back is just this huge swamp.
Yeah, it's good. Nice transition area.
It's beautiful. I mean, you got all these different vegetations coming into one area. So I get back in there, and I'm looking around. What I didn't realize, it doesn't show on the map, is off of that main creek to my left, there's like this ditch runoff, and it runs all the way up. That's what kind of makes that triangle with the field and the real thick vegetation on the right. This ditch is probably just wide enough you can't jump across it, and just deep enough I can't get across with my rubber boots.
Yeah.
My knee-high rubber boots. I mean, it probably would have been about thigh-high. So I'm looking at it, and I see the tree I want to get into. It's a pin oak, and it's going to be a pain in the ass, and I already know it, but I'm in early. I'm like, all right, no problem. And I look over to my right, 15 yards away is a perfect little, about 2 foot wide section. I'm like, I can jump over that easy with my stand on my back and everything, no problem.
Yep.
I take 2 steps towards it, and I hear a deer get up and jump. And I hear, thodum, thodum, thodum. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I never saw it. It's real thick in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no. I know exactly what that is. I'm like, I jumped a deer. And I'm going back to, all the different podcasts you listen to that tell you, if you jump a deer, don't worry about it. You got to stay positive. You're at least in the right area. I didn't know if it was a big doe, if it was a big buck, but I'm texting you, I'm texting everyone back, just jumped a deer, could be, the next swamp donkey. It sounded huge.
And
then I saw those big tracks coming into it, and there are big beds right by the tree. So I'm like, oh, well, screw it. I go and I cross the little ditch and I get up in my tree, and it takes me about an hour to hang up in this pin oak. I mean, it's just one branch after another.
That's a long hang, man.
Dude, it was rough. I mean, I had to take 3 breaks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hanging there just because my arms were so sore. I'm sweating. It's probably 38 degrees, and I'm sweating.
Yeah, that's no good.
No, so I finally get up in, and it's kind of freaky because the tree is right on the edge of that ditch, and I'm hanging over top. So if I drop anything, it's going right into that ditch of water.
Oh, beautiful.
So I'm like holding onto my phone for dear life. I'm like, don't drop my phone. It just goes straight into the water. But I'm sitting there, and the evening's closing in, and next thing you know, I start hearing crunch, crunch, crunch from that big hillside with the open timber on the other side. And I look up, and I'm looking with my eyes, and I can see a buck coming down the hill. And I'm, oh, good buck. And at this point, he's probably 120 yards, but you could just tell.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes the rack, and I'm like, oh, shit, here he
Didn't
comes.
even need the binos.
Nope, no binos necessary. He comes right out to the edge of that creek, probably 50 yards away, and he's just like eyeballing, scanning back and forth on my big high grassy field. Oh, shit. Come on, buddy, cross it. Come right to me. So he starts to work his way down the creek bottom away from me. I hit my grunt call a couple times. Absolutely nothing. No response at all. So I give him a snort wheeze, which is aggressive move, but I've watched enough Facebook videos. I know what I'm doing, all right?
I know what I'm doing. I watched YouTube, okay?
I watch enough videos. I know what's up. But miraculously, and I figured it was, at first, to be honest, I didn't want to call it to the deer. I figured I already knew where he's bedding. I'm guessing it's the same deer I jumped. He just did a big circle and he was coming back. And I figured I could get in on him the next day, if he doesn't know I'm here. So I'm like, yeah, screw that. I'm going to try to kill this deer. So I snort wheeze. Yeah. I snort wheeze and he whips his head around and looks right in my direction. At this point, he's probably back to about 80 to 100 yards away in some pretty thick creek bottom vegetation. I'm like, oh man, it worked. Like, holy shit. So he starts to kind of slowly work back off away from me and I'm losing sight of him. So I do it again. I snort wheeze again. And he kind of looks back again like, hey, relax. Okay, I'm getting there. I got to cross this creek. I don't want to cross.
He was getting annoyed.
Now he's getting a little ticked off. So I'm like, all right, this deer's in the mood. I might be able to make something happen. And he goes to cross the creek and he kind of disappears out of sight. And I'm like, all right, one last move. I'm grabbing the rattling antlers and I'm going to make it happen. So I go to grab the rattling antlers and I catch movement and I look and sure enough, he crosses the creek and he's standing on my side now.
Beauty.
And here he comes. He's angling 45 degrees right at me. I'm like, oh man, I'm about to get this done. I'm getting fired up in my head. I hate when I do that because, I'm like, first night, I'm about to get it done. Like this, I can't believe it's going to happen. I feel like I curse myself in my head, but I can't stop the thoughts.
No.
They're positive
anybody's going to be that way.
I'm like, damn it, stop thinking that. Like, just quit for a second and focus what you have to do. So he's coming in and he's angling right at me. And I'm playing it out in my mind. I'm like, okay, he's going to hit this field edge where it's real thick and he's going to wonder what was back behind me in the real thick area. And he's going to work this edge right to me. And, I'm going to have a 15-yard shot. I'm playing it out. He comes in, he gets to about 40 yards to a point where I can't shoot him. He's literally facing right at me. And he gets into that tree line where I can't see him any longer. It gets too thick. And I can hear him stop and he's making a scrape. I can hear him making a scrape. I can hear him rubbing on a tree. I'm like, this deer's fired up. He's going to come right to me.
Oh, yeah.
And then it kind of went quiet for a little while. And I didn't hear anything and it's getting darker. So I took my grunt call. I faced it back behind me and towards the swamp and I hit a couple grunts and I thought I heard something coming in at one point, and it got too dark, and I never saw the deer.
Yep.
So that was close call number one on a really good shooter buck. I mean, this deer was wide out past his ears. He was tall. He probably had 10-inch G2s, G3s, just as tall.
Oh, yeah.
Nice, beautiful 8-point. Gorgeous deer. So I'm like, all right, now I'm fired up. First day of the trip, I've already seen, Pope and Young caliber buck. And I almost had a shot on him. Almost got it done on the bump and dump.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm 100% positive that was the same deer I jumped because he literally was circling and coming right back into the bed where I jumped him.
Yep. No, that makes sense.
He was coming right to it. So I'm like, okay, day one was good. Well, we get a lot of rain that night come in. Big rainstorm goes into the morning. No hunting in the morning. It was just, real windy, real rainy, nasty. So we skipped out on the morning hunt. Went back out in the evening. I said, I'm going to try it again. I'm bringing out the decoy this time. So I brought out Betsy Buck, sat there, put Joe up on the hillside where he come down off that hill through the open woods. And we didn't see anything on day two. But then day three, I figured, I'm not going to get stuck to this one point because I remember last year in Illinois, I saw a real nice buck early in the trip and I just hunted it to death.
Yeah. Well,
and I had two opportunities on it.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't want to fall in love with one spot. There's a lot of land out here that we need to figure out.
Absolutely.
We still need to hunt. We're still learning the area.
Yep.
So I'm going back. I said, you know what? In the morning, I'm going to go back to what I know and love. The first place we came out here where I killed my buck 2 years ago. And we've killed some doe out of there and we've seen nice bucks. I'm going to go in there in the morning. I know the area well enough. I'm going to hang and hunt.
Yep.
I get in and I start to try to get to where I need to go. And I start walking into some heavy puddles. I mean, big areas of water. And I'm like, man, what the hell's going on here? And this is a big, big creek bottom that we hunt.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's starting to get up towards the top of my boots. And I'm looking around. I'm like, well, there's some dry land over there. I'm going to head up there and I'll just circle around. I'll get past this puddle and I'll be all right. I'm walking through like for an hour looking for this spot. I'm looking on my phone. I'm like, why am I not where I need to be? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. Like I've hunted here 1 billion times.
It's easy to get turned around in the dark, man.
Yeah.
So
And
easy.
I realized what happened was there's that creek bottom, then it goes up a hill and towards private, and it's just nothing but slash. I mean, like the thickest, nastiest stuff you could imagine. Well, I was in that slash.
Oh, yeah.
And I found the property boundary, and I'm like, what is going on? I've never seen this before. And then I realized I'm in the slash. I need to go like 50, 60 yards that way. So I start walking, and I hit the edge of the slash, and it's like I hit a lake.
Oh,
I mean, literally as far as I can see, and now it's getting daylight out. As far as I can see in every direction, water.
You're in that gray light area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just water. And I'm like, shit.
No.
All that rain we got, the whole bottom flooded out.
Yeah, what do you do now?
Right. I'm like, okay, now I'm screwed. So I kind of worked my way back towards the road, and I got dropped off, so I didn't have a truck.
Yeah.
Joe was parked probably a quarter mile down the road. And I'm like, all right, well, I kind of want to check this backside of where I just saw that deer a couple nights before. It all kind of connects. So I'm like, I'm going to check this backside out. I start to walk in there, and I'm on the private property line, and it gets so thick. I'm like, I'm not making it past this point. Now it's like, it's working up on like 7:30. It's daylight for a while. So I'm just, you know what? I'm just going to hunt the ground. It's a nice thick area. I found this really, really nice trail pounded into the ground.
Yep.
Screw it, I'm going to hunt the ground. I walked down in, set my stuff up. I found this perfect spot to hunt from. Nice back cover. Start getting ready. And as I'm getting ready, I hear plum, plum, plum. I'm like, oh shit, what the hell was that? And this deer comes running at me. This big old nanny doe.
Ooh, yeah.
She was coming right down that trail. That same one I was hunting. If I'd been ready and sitting down, probably would have got a shot opportunity. But since I was standing up, putting my coat on and stuff, still getting ready, she saw something. She actually bounded towards me, and she was only standing 20 yards away, looking like behind me, not even looking at me. But she knew something wasn't right, and I couldn't shoot. It was too thick. My bow's laying on the ground.
Did you come in that way?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say maybe she got your ground scent, but...
No, I think she just ended up seeing me. Because at this point now, I'm standing up in the middle of the open.
Yeah.
She just kind of looked my direction, saw my movement, and then she didn't know what she saw, but she didn't like it.
Yeah.
She started snorting at me. And then she never looked at me, but she just walked off the way she came from. So I was like, all right, that's cool. Big old mature doe. Maybe there'd be a buck somewhere behind her. You know, I'll just sit down.
Yep.
Didn't see anything for the rest of the morning. And then it got kind of cold there for a couple days. The whole trip, man, the weather and the deer action just didn't match up. I mean, the weather was freezing cold, you know, somewhat relatively calm, not too windy. There was a couple wind days. There were a couple rain days that were real bad that just, you lost maybe half a hunt, like a morning hunt or an afternoon. But the worst part was it kept flooding out these bottoms of where we were seeing all the deer and having most of our success.
Yep.
So.
I mean, it probably pushed them up to the high ground and stuff too. I mean.
Yeah, it did. It was pushing them up on the hills.
You just got to adjust a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So we're still trying to adjust to them, and we're trying to chase the deer around. And first day, my brother Joe shot a doe out of his ladder stand. So there was, right off the bat, we weren't getting shut out.
Yeah.
You know, that was nice, get that done with. And he kept seeing tons of doe.
He sent me a Snapchat that first day, and I opened it up, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. He's like, oh, blood trail. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was watching it, and then the next one was start to finish. And I was like, what? You know, and I started watching it, and he just did like the whole track job on Snapchat. I was like, this is really cool. I felt like I was there.
I skipped right through it.
Shout out to Joe. It was cool, man. I liked it.
He's like, wait, you didn't watch it? I was like, no, man, I'm sorry. I didn't. I just skipped right through your video.
Oh, man.
I was like, you were taking too long. I was hoping for like a 20-yard track. It was maybe a 30-yard track.
It was good. It was good. I liked it.
It wasn't very long at all, but I was like, I just skipped through it. But he kept seeing all the doe, and now that there's a new rule, you're only allowed to shoot one doe on all of public land in Ohio. So you're only allowed one public land doe.
That's so dumb.
So dumb, because where we're at is a 3-deer area. You're allowed to kill 3 deer.
You got to be on
And
private.
it has to be either sex, but yeah, you have to kill your other doe on private land.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, so he can't shoot doe, and he was just covered up with doe almost every day. You know, he kept seeing him. He's like, I keep seeing him crossing the hillside. I keep seeing him on the shelf. Like, you need to come over and kill one of these doe. I'm sick of looking at them. You know, and there was
just kill them all. I don't want to see them anymore.
Yeah, the weird part was though, it was like a bunch of the mother deer with their yearlings.
Mm-hmm.
They were still together. They didn't kick the yearlings yet. You know, the little bucks were kind of nosing around, but not chasing that hard. There was one, I think, that we saw the whole time. but the evening hunts were absolutely atrocious for the most part.
Really?
Yeah, besides that first day when I saw that and another, probably like day 4 at another opportunity in the evening, but like the movement was at last light.
Yeah.
It was almost like early season, where you don't even see the doe or anything start moving until that last half an hour of light.
Yeah.
That dark 30 that we wait for.
That's what pressure will do, man.
I think that's what it is. I think it was the pressure.
Yeah.
And I never really thought that before until you just mentioned it. That's a good call.
Yep.
It's just those deer are just too pressured down there.
It's public land.
Everywhere you go.
There's going to be people out there, and they're going to be putting pressure on stuff everywhere. I mean, you just got to either find those pockets that they don't really care, and they're in there, and they don't get pressure, and it's probably going to be a smaller pocket, or you have to adjust, and you got to shoot them at last later in the morning. I mean, that's...
Yeah. Mornings were good. I mean, there were deer moving. Does were moving early. Bucks were cruising late, like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Was a lot of the cruising time that we saw. But the weather was perfect. You couldn't ask for better. It's just the rut behavior or the chasing was not there.
It just wasn't what you were expecting.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And not what we've seen in years past.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that was, but
I don't know. That's crazy.
yeah. But I mean, we started to adjust. We kind of got out of that. We were sick of, Joe was sick of getting his feet wet. I had my rubber boots, so I was good. But
he was rocking those leather boots.
he was rocking the leather boots and walking through those puddles every day to get to his stand. And everywhere you went down there in that creek, it just flooded out. So
that'll make you miserable real quick. Having wet feet, oh man.
He might be getting a toe or two removed from hypothermia here within the next couple days. So it got miserable. So we were like, you know what? We'll just have Brubby drop us off at this spot where him and my older brother Russ hunted a couple years back as a drop-off spot. They had success seeing deer there, bucks chasing and stuff. So
nice.
Like, okay, and we get dropped off, and originally where I wanted to go, there's a nice rub, and we start going over the hill, and we realize quick it's a freaking gorge. I mean, giant drop off, 100 feet right now. We're like, okay, we're not hunting here.
No.
So we just start hiking down the road back to the spot where him and Russ is hunting. He's like, we know we can hunt there. So we hike all the way back down there, and we find good spots, and we see nice rubs coming in and out of this little top.
Yep.
Like, okay, Joe, it's a little knob. It's perfect setup for this wind. The deer should be bedding somewhere on that backside. It's real thick. So he heads off to the right side of the knob, and I head off to the left side of the knob. He saw a little fork horn, like half rack, 4-point.
Yeah.
It was just a little tiny fork thing.
A little dinker
and
guy.
chasing a doe around, and right at last light, I had a nice buck come out. Good PA buck. I guess really a good public Ohio buck if you think about it. He's probably a 110, 120 class buck.
Okay. Respectable, but yeah.
Not huge. Nothing crazy cool about him. Just a plain 8. And he comes out, and I had a real quick look at him, and I was going to shoot him. At this point, it was like day 4 of 8. We're halfway.
Yep.
I haven't shot that many bucks, my bow. I'm putting them down.
Yeah. I don't blame you one bit.
Absolutely. He'd been my second biggest buck ever. I'm going for it.
Yeah.
So I kind of screwed up because I was wearing double gloves on my right hand, which I've literally done maybe once ever in my life. Nope. Stupid. I wear those mittens, that scent lock mitten, and usually my fingers are exposed, but it was so cold. I was like, I'm going to put my light scent lock glove on underneath, which is what I usually do.
I'm not a mitten guy, man.
I love the mittens. Absolutely
Just
love them.
wear your light gloves and wear one of them muffs, man. Stick your hand in that muff and you're good to go.
The problem with that is a deer comes out like that first night and you have your bow in your hand and you're holding, waiting for an hour. Your hands get freaking cold. Like badly cold.
That's when you just hold on to one, stick the other one in the other, and then switch it off. And you just got to be resourceful, man.
But I did. I put the double gloves on, and I forgot to put the mitten up, and I'm trying to fumble with my release and get it on the string, and I finally got it on the string, and right when I was about to try to draw back on this deer, it was quickly moving through my lane. I could have drawn back, and my mitten hit the release trigger, and it just came right off the string.
Twang.
But it didn't even, it just twang right off the string. I'm like, shit. Like my string didn't even move. It was just literally my release come right off as soon as I started pulling. I'm like, son of a bitch. Oh. And he's gone. He went into the opening and crossed the road. And we think it was the same deer that doubled back and ran that little 4-point off the doe and got on the doe and ran right past Joe like 15 yards.
Yep.
And even he said for him it wasn't a shooter. He's been a lot more fortunate with bigger bucks, and he was holding out for something obviously a lot nicer than that. But It went by him at like 15 yards and gave him a perfect shot opportunity.
Yep.
And I was kind of bummed out. But again, that's for me.
My mom's calling me.
Oh, mommy.
Should I answer and say hi real quick on the podcast?
Why not?
Hey, Mom. Yeah.
What are you doing?
I am actually currently podcasting. You're on the podcast.
Well, you just have fun, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. I'll call you back.
Bye.
Bye.
She didn't want to guess the appearance, apparently.
No, apparently not.
She still loves you, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Any Hoozleville.
But yeah, I mean, I was pumped. At this point, it was like 5 or 6 hunts. I had 2 shot opportunities on bucks. You know, I'm feeling pretty excited. And next couple of days got frustrating, man, trying to hang and hunt in the mornings and trying to jump to new places all the time. Finally, Joe talked me into one morning. He's like, "Yeah, come over here. You know, I'm sick of seeing these doe. They got to go down." I'm like, "All right, I'll come over there." And I think I text you because the night before we dropped all the way down past that point. And we hunted the swamp bottom because I found a really nice pinch point. I was trying to get a little aggressive on bucks and try to get away from people. Try to get way back
That's the big
in.
thing. Get away from the people, man.
It's not possible out there.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it's not possible. I've been to the deepest and darkest areas of that place, and when it gets nighttime, you turn on your flashlight, and there's bright eyes everywhere.
Oh, nice.
It's like, what the hell? And it could be older sign, but
Yeah.
one of the deepest and darkest spots I got to, which was like one of the last days, I get all the way back in there, and there's a hang-on stand 30 yards away.
Yep.
You got to be shitting me. But anyways, I go over there and I hunt with him. And the day before that, when we were working all the way back to the swamp, I had an opportunity on a doe from the ground. This doe come feeding right into us. And I had it at like 35 yards, and this doe had no clue. And it's coming through, and it's like one opening away, and it spotted me. It spotted Joe, but it's just a stupid little doe. It has no clue what's going on.
Yep.
It just keeps feeding. So finally, I go to draw back, and it cleared its head behind this tree faster than I anticipated. And I got to about half draw, and it just looked right at me. I stopped at half draw and just like had to let down.
You're just holding all that weight at that point.
Yeah, I tried, and then I couldn't. And I'm like, I dropped down, and I'm hiding, and it's like, what are you? It turns and gets curious and walks right at me.
That's good.
And I'm not drawn back all the way. If I'd been drawn back, I would have taken the shot.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not drawn now. So she starts walking right at me, and I'm like, shit. I'm in the wide open. And she gets to about 20 yards, and she turns, and she kind of bounds back up the hill to about 30 yards, and she starts walking away, and I draw back, and I get it in, and she stops behind some brush. I'm like, damn it, come on. And then she walks out. She gets in an open-ish area, and I get my 30 pin, and it's shaking all over the place at this point. I've been holding back. My leg is totally numb and completely like tingly from standing there, putting all the weight on it. And I'm making more excuses up. I'm sure I have other ones I can use, but I miss. I fling one over its back, and I'm like, shit.
Oh, man.
So the next morning, I go up there again. I'm like, I'm going to go right where that deer was. I start working in, and Joe calls me on the phone. He's like, hey, some guy with the headlights up ahead of you. You should probably just stay short, not get too close to him. I'm like, okay. So I get about 30 yards from where I shot at that doe. First light comes up, that same doe sitting there feeding, the same spot again. At like 45, 50 yards away.
He never left.
She just fed there for
fed there all
6
night.
days straight. So this deer's there, and I'm like, holy shit, here we go. So the deer starts feeding back towards me again, gets at 30 yards, comes out my lane. I draw back, steady the pin, think I take a great shot. I let it off nice and easy, and I see my arrow just flail over its back, like 2 foot over its back. I'm like, what the hell just happened? The deer takes 2 bounds, looks around, and starts eating again behind this giant tree. I'm
like nothing happened.
Like nothing happened. And I see my arrow sticking in the ground. Well, I've had this issue all year long, and the only thing I can figure out what happened was when I draw back, if I don't draw back and look at my arrow does not come all the way to a perfect rest in in the V of my rest. It's kind of gets hung up sometimes on the left-hand side.
That's not good.
No, it's
Poor
bad.
designed.
It's really bad. And I've done it shooting in the yard before. I draw back, not pay attention, shoot, and I shoot one all the way over the hay bale back into the woods. And I'm like, what the hell happened? It's the only thing I can think of because I missed this deer high left by like 3 feet.
Yeah. I mean,
30
what else
yards.
explains that?
I'm like, there's no way. And well, first I'm blaming my bow and I'm blaming my sight, and I'm worried because, you're bumping and crushing your bow, working hard in and out, climbing every day. You don't know what happened. I'm like, let me get this deer to 20 yards and I'm taking it out. So I'm waiting. It's feeding at like 25 yards, 26 yards. It's behind a twig here. It's behind a twig there. I'm like, it's killing me. It's like it's driving me nuts. I almost dropped back like 4 times. I'm like, just wait. The deer has no clue. It's going to feed right to you in the wide open at 20 yards. So finally, I can start feeling my phone in my pocket buzzing. Someone's texting me, and I'm like, shit, that's probably Joe texting me. And I look up from that deer, and I see 2 tail come flying up the hill from where he's at towards me. And now the deer I was trying to kill got real nervous, and he bounded to like 15 yards in the wide open, but he's on the other side of the tree.
Is it a he or she?
I think it was a little button,
Okay.
but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
It looked like a little button buck. So regardless, little doe all by itself, and it bounds like 15 yards away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit. So now I'm working my way the whole way around the tree to get a shot on this thing. And it's super high alert because these other deer run up the hill, and I'm thinking it's a buck chasing a doe. I'm like, I'm going to shoot this one so I don't disturb those 2. So I go to shoot him, whatever he identifies as. And this little doe runs off. And I'm like, shit, you got to be kidding me. So now I work my way all the way back around the tree to where these other deer are coming from. And they're busting ass up the hill. At this point now I've identified it's a big mama doe and its yearling with it. And they're closing in right on me. I'm like, perfect, here we go. And then they start quartering away. I'm like, oh shit, no. And then it comes back broadside and she starts bounding. The mom starts bounding. I'm like, perfect time. Draw back, settling in. The mom gets about 20, goes behind a big tree, and then cuts up the hill away from me, hard quartering away.
Yep.
And she stops at like 24 yards. I didn't want to take that shot, and then I look over, and the little yearling comes out 2 steps behind that big tree, perfectly broadside 20 yards. So I just went from her, dropped my pin right onto that one, 20 yards, whack, right behind the shoulder.
Yep.
Smoked it.
Toasted.
I mean, just smoked her. Perfect shot. I saw the arrow fly right through, laying in the ground. She kind of just trots off, and I can see she stopped about 10 yards from where I shot her, and I could see the hole, and I'm like, okay, you're done. I'm looking, thinking there's a buck chasing them, and I'm like, perfect. I got them out of the way. There's no buck yet in sight. This is perfect. Here comes the buck. I'll, have another opportunity. No deer ever shows up. So I come to find out Joe, I finally look at my messages. Joe was texting me. Some guy was walking out at 8:30 in the morning and bumped those 2 doe right to me.
Ooh.
Yeah. So thank you to that guy if he's listening.
Yeah. I mean, he must have had to go to work or something.
Something, I don't know what.
Unless he got wet or something. He was just real cold in the morning or
it's
something.
real wet down in that bottom. His feet probably freezing him.
That's possible.
But yeah, they bumped him right to me. I got that doe, and then so I harvested my doe, and now we both got one little doe ball on the board, and we were looking good. No bucks that morning. Next morning, we were hunting close to there, probably 80 yards from that spot.
Yep.
Up the ridge, more towards the road, where there's a real thick area. We saw some giant rubs, and I was like, perfect. Let's hunt around this, Joe.
Yep.
He hunts the bottom. I was about halfway up the hill, and Brubby was at the very top in his ladder. So I got a beautiful hanging hunt out of this really nice, I think it was I want to say it was a maple, just a gorgeous tree, splits at the top, and I was on a hillside, so anything below me was like 25 feet.
Yep.
So I'm up there, and I'm like, this is just gorgeous morning, perfect conditions, still a little bit of wind, but just like frosty, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And we're sitting there all morning long, nothing. Didn't see a deer. 9:30 rolls around. Joe texts me, big deer just crossed the field way out ahead of me. I'm like, all right, well, give it some grunts and see what happens. You're in the thick stuff. You can grunt. I'm in the wide open. I can't be grunting. So he grunts a little bit, and I'm watching, and I'm like, man, your grunts suck. I'll grunt. I'll try to help you out here, kid. So I grunt a couple times, and we just sit there and wait. And I'm trying to paint a scenario of a couple different bucks in the area so the deer doesn't get, too suspicious of the grunt call, because they're pretty smart out there whenever they're pressured, those bucks.
Well, they've heard it all before. I mean,
they have.
That's what it is.
So sure enough, I look down, and I can hear him before I can see him. I can hear him sloshing through that wet bottom.
Yep.
And he's coming up the hill to me. And I look down, and I'm like, oh man, shooter. Right off the bat, I'm like, nice buck. Similar to the one I saw the first day.
Yeah.
Real similar. And he's headed right up the hill right at me. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm up, I'm ready, my bow's in my hand, range finding my spots ahead of him, which I already knew what 30 was, but he was a little farther out than that. So I was hoping to try to get him within that 45 range. So I'm hitting my spots, 50, 50, 50. And I'm like, shit. And he's crossing quick. He took the steeper part of the hill instead of the nice gradual part I was hunting. And he took the steeper part up, which saved his life. And he got to about 50 yards and got around me. So I hurried up and texted Joe. I'm like, grunt, hurry. So he started grunting. The deer paid no attention to him. And then our next text was to Brub. I'm like, buck coming. He gets up, and next thing you know, I look up from my phone, and I lost the deer. I'm like, damn, where'd he go? And I hear thwack. I'm like, oh, shit. And then I see the deer, and he bounds like 4 or 5 times and stops. I'm like, well, did he get him? And I'm looking at the deer wide open. I can't see any visible holes with my bare eyes. My binoculars were just like all fogged up and frosty. So I can't see in the binoculars. I'm watching the deer, and then the deer eventually just flicks his tail and walks away.
Yep.
I'm like, shit.
Yeah, you
sounded
know what that
like
was.
A miss.
Yep.
So I text Brub again, like, hey, man, what's up? You know, it looked like a miss. What happened? And I didn't get any answer for like an hour. And I see him get out of his stand. Well, I didn't see him in his stand, but I see him like walk over the hill, and he picks up his arrow, and he's looking at it and puts it back in the quiver, goes back up. So what happened was Brub, because of previous surgeries, he's shooting a crossbow, which he hates, by the way.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
He's like, I have no idea why anybody that's capable of using a compound bow would ever want to shoot one of these things. They're bulky. They're annoying. There's like no good way to carry them or hold them. He's like, they're just terrible. But yeah, he can't draw back a bow.
That's his way of getting out bow hunting. I totally respect that.
So he's bummed out about it. He was like, basically, this deer was coming right to me. He said he was at 40 yards. I put my scope on the other side of the tree where he was going to cross, and he never showed up in my scope. And apparently he veered off different direction once he hit that big tree. So he pulled down his scope and looked and realized the buck was kind of getting away. Yeah. So he picked the next best opening, and he thought it was open enough, and when he shot, the arrow deflected. Yep. And, that'll do it. He missed by like, he said the arrow landed like 20 feet away from the deer. That's why the deer didn't even know he was shot at.
Yep.
Had no clue.
He probably heard that noise, but
yeah, he heard the noise go off. But I mean, there's all kinds of cracks and stuff that go off in the woods. Yeah. So that was close call number 3 for me. That was the third buck and 9 hunts that got within 50 yards.
That's wild, dude.
You know, I was pumped because it was really cool.
Absolutely. Those are really good odds, man. That's like, what is that, 33%?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Yeah, 33%.
Yeah, 9 hunts, 3 good bucks.
You're going to see a buck.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'd take those odds any day.
Yeah, and with 3 guys, we almost got another Pope and Young buck down. I mean, usually we go on these trips, we have 5, 6 guys. Yeah. You know, and we get 1 deer. Yeah. And 10 hunts, or 10 days.
Public land's hard, man. That pressure and everything. I mean, you got to either grind it or just really know what you're doing. I mean, to get something done. But
what was cool about that too is, you know, Brub had a really good trip too, because he, you know, even though he missed that deer, he was still positive about just seeing and getting a shot opportunity on a nice buck. And, you know, he's bummed out by what happened. What are you going to do? You know, it's a deflection. It's nothing you can do. Yep. But a couple of days prior, he saw an absolute giant. He was grunting in the middle of the day, just blind grunting. Yeah. And he hit the grunt call 3 times, just a blep, blep, blep. And he said he heard all this crashing and banging, and he looks over and he saw these 2 squirrels running around and thought it was them. What the hell? And he goes to lift his grunt call to hit it a 4th time, and he hears crash, 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 bang, bang. And he's like, what the hell? And he turns around. There's this giant buck standing 15 yards away, wide open. And he's got his crossbow in his hands down by his hip. And there's nothing he can do.
Oh, boy.
And this giant is just staring at him. He's like, shit. So he said he tried to, like, as slow as he can, try to get turned and get his crossbow up. And the buck made him out and just took off
that
up
ain't
the hill.
happening.
He said it scaled this, like, cliff, 30-foot cliff wall. He just scaled right up and took off.
That's crazy.
And
he was probably better off just waiting for that thing to just let him go. You know, just kind of write him off and just keep moving along and then try to
That
get
would have
moving.
been his best bet, but even that probably wouldn't happen.
You get so excited when you see stuff like that. I mean, you're just like, if I move slow enough, I know I can get this up, you know, but it just, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah. So the next morning he went back after him, and he told us it was a really nice big 8-point, you know, and we didn't really know how big he meant. You know, he wasn't too excited about it because he didn't get a real good look at him. As soon as he saw his antlers, he focused on trying to kill him. He takes his eyes right off. He just knew he was big and tall. Yep. So the next morning, he was hunting that same area, and he come out, and there were a couple guys from New York there that shot that buck, and they did not find him. They said it was low and it looked forward, and they thought brisket shot.
Yep, right through that brisket.
And
No man's land.
They tracked for like 800 yards with crazy blood, and then eventually just ran out of blood.
See, even that front brisket shot, I shot a deer there one time by accident. I think it was a deflection that actually ended up sending it through that front brisket. And there was blood, but it wasn't like crazy blood. And they're not going to bleed a whole hell of a lot. That's just muscle tissue and fat. And,
Right.
you know,
It's just a low wound. Any low wound
yeah.
is going to produce a lot of blood.
Get that real greasy arrow on there from that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of laid off that area for a little while and started hunting over towards us, and that's when he had the opportunity on the next buck, where he shot and missed. But it was second to last night we were there. I want to say it was like day 7 of the trip.
Yeah.
Joe and I are coming back from picking up a pizza at night, and we're driving through the campground, and we go right past that same area where he had been hunting that deer, and we come around the bend, and I went, oh my gosh. I said, Joe, monster. And he's he's playing on his phone or something, Facebook, whatever he's doing. Like,
He's driving.
I'm driving.
Oh, you're driving.
I'm driving.
I was going to say.
So I'm like smacking him. I'm like, dude, monster. And we get around the bend and the headlights get on this thing, and we're like 10 feet from it.
Oh.
And it is just a giant. I mean, we're talking like 15-inch G2s
Oh, my.
to the sky. I mean, it was one of them bucks, like, you know how them, I always relate it to like that Kansas look where the deer, like, you can see from the side, the main beam comes up. Before the main beam can even turn, it's just that G2 just spikes straight
just
up and out.
skyrockets,
Just straight up. And I mean, that thing was like 15 inches long, no exaggeration. And the G3s were like 10, 12 inches long.
Jeez.
And it's just like a picket fence of antlers. And then that last point was probably 3 to 5 inches.
Yeah.
He was a 10 point.
Just
clean
a solid
10.
buck, man.
Super solid, giant frame buck. And he's standing there like 10 feet away, and he just turns and goes right up back into the hunting zone.
It wasn't even on private or
No.
anything. It wasn't a no hunting. He was in the hunting zone.
Yeah, like a couple nights before, I sent you a picture of a real nice buck that we saw back in the campground. That
Yep.
doesn't get me excited. That's like 10 miles from, exaggeration, but that's a long ways from where we can actually hunt.
Right.
So that doesn't get me too excited. But that deer coming off the hunting zone and then going back into the hunting zone
That's interesting.
at like 8 o'clock, 2 hours after dark, I'm like, oh man.
If he's in there and he's moving, he's killable. But
Mhm.
that's just so hard to tell. I mean, I was looking at the maps and stuff where you were. There's some thick jungles chilling in there, man. And you know what? I guarantee they're laying in there and they're not getting killed.
No, that deer, I think he was just a really aggressive buck, and that's what got him shot in the first place.
Yep.
But that might have wised him up, and he might have went a little more nocturnal after that.
Yeah, he knows different now.
So we went after him. Unfortunately, the next day it rained, and we got that freezing rain. That was that Thursday with that big storm come through.
Yep.
We got that bad rain, and down there we didn't get the snow like we got up here. We just got all freezing rain and then really heavy rain and wind. And that morning, after seeing them, we did not go out.
Yeah.
And I went out, I got up, and I went to take a step out, and I stepped on the little steps coming out of the camper and almost fell on my ass. I mean, it was totally covered in ice. I was like, yeah, I'm not going in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still spitting freezing rain. Everything's frozen. So I'm like, all right. So that evening, the Brubster and I, we went out. We decided we're going out in the rain. We don't care. It was warm, but it was just rain, no wind.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we went out. I took this trail, and I just walked this nice open trail the whole way through this jungle. I walked over a mile, and it was literally nothing but this nasty, thick, crazy stuff that deer are going to live in. And I jumped a couple doe.
Yep.
I almost pet this doe. I thought it was going to be one of them moments. Like you see, man, I'm walking out, and I'm busting ass to get out of there, and I got the light on, and I come around the corner, and this deer walks out of that thick, nasty stuff onto the trail at like 8 yards. And I didn't really slow my pace. I just kept going, like, see how close I can get to this deer. Finally, she realizes what I am, and she looks up at me. And at this point, I'm like 5 paces from her. And I'm looking at this little tiny deer. And I kind of hesitate at this point. I'm like, am I going to be able to pet you? Like, what's going on, deer? And I start to creep in closer, and it just takes off. But I was like, that's pretty cool.
That would have been cool.
I was like, I thought I was going to pet this deer. I didn't. But
I've seen people pet them on Facebook, man.
yeah,
They
that's
just
what I
like,
was.
hey, little guy.
Yeah, like they come right up and you pet
Yeah.
them and stuff. I thought that was going to be me. I'm like, this is my moment.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't. It was a close call. But
Seems like it.
It's pretty much it, man. That wrapped up our trip. You know, the weather kind of took over from there. The next morning, we thought about getting out, and there was about 20-mile-per-hour gust of winds, and with a solid 10 to 15-mile-per-hour winds the next morning with this spitting, freezing rain stuff. And we were like, no, let's just get packed up and go home, man. Joe had to work that evening, and it was a bummer. None of us got a buck, but we all had – I mean, Joe probably had the least opportunity. He had a nice big buck, but Brub and I, we had pretty close opportunities. Brub took a shot, had a run in with a giant. And, we really secured this area as potential to come back in the future. Yeah. Where before we just had that creek bottom. And the problem is we even talked about going into this year, if it's as rainy as it's been, it's going to be flooded out. So that's why me and Joe went up that Sunday just to scout it, make sure it wasn't flooded. I'm like, no, it's just puddles. Well, even after all that rain, we did end up hunting back in there. I had a close call on a deer that I have no idea what it was. It was too dark, but I ended up getting my ground scent way back in there. And after like 2 or 3 days after the rain, it receded enough. If you had rubber boots, you could walk all the way back in there, which I think separated me from, and there was no one else hunting back there. Yeah. Like even Joe came back to me the one night and got his feet wet. And he's
Sometimes
like, I'm not
that's
going
all
back.
you need, man. Mm-hmm. You just need that one barrier that's going to stop 90% of the people, and that sometimes your ticket, man.
Yeah, there was enough water in there. People didn't want to go walking through there. Yeah. It took me an hour to walk like a 3/4 of a mile back in there just because you're swamping through stuff. But
yeah, that's rough.
We got enough bunch of new places to hunt, and we saw big deer in all of them. So all in all, it was a really good, successful trip in that sense. I mean, when you have 3 guys covering that much ground, it's hard, man. Yeah. It's hard enough as it is.
Yeah,
to get a buck on public land. Yep. We're against the odds, but it was cool. Yeah. It was a great trip. Had a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
It was a bummer that it was just the 3 of us. I like when there's more of us there. It's a better camaraderie.
Oh, yeah. No,
better
for
experience,
sure.
But it is what it is. I was hoping you and Anthony were going to come down and visit.
Man, I was going to, but I decided, and I'm glad I did now. I decided to get my leaves done.
And now your yard's covered again.
And now my yard's covered again, which is very, very cool. I like that.
Well, you guys hunted here, though.
Yeah. We hunted that last Saturday of our season. We had that Monday, and I considered going out, but I just did some other stuff then, too, because I didn't have a great experience on Saturday.
Yeah. You want to talk about it?
I do, because I think it's a good learning experience for people. So me and Anthony went out, and we went to a local spot that I have, and it's actually a spot where Anthony shot his buck this year. I've hunted a couple times. You hunted it once, and there's deer there. There always is deer there. And we hung a double set. It was good. We were just hanging out. It was super cold. I mean, I even considered not going out. It was that cold. I didn't even I wore my camo jacket. That was it. I just threw on my Carhartt bibs, and I was bundled. And I was pretty toasty for a while, but it was chilly.
And you guys were just doe hunting, so.
We were just doe hunting, exactly. Yeah. We both had doe tags, and we were out there, and we were just bearing that wind. It was howling, dude. And I don't know. We bullshitted a little bit, and we were just kind of hanging out, and it was getting close to the dark, and we were like, man, we're not going to see anything. You know what I mean? It's probably 45 minutes before dark. And then next thing you know, Anthony's tapping me. He's like, here comes some does. And I look, and I'm kind of looking, and I could see 1 or 2 coming. I was like, oh, that's cool. They were, 120 yards out. They didn't look like they were going to come our way. And then next thing you know, just a freaking line of does, dude. There were does everywhere all of a sudden. And they were probably 60 yards maybe, give or take, feeding around. Just hitting all those acorns. And we were just watching them. There was no real being in the game at that point. And more does started coming from the left. More does started coming from the right. We were covered up. Yeah. And we were just watching them. And then a real little dinker buck. I don't know, forky, 6 points, something like that. He wasn't anything. He comes in and starts playing around with him a little bit, pushing him around and everything. And a bigger doe, I'm assuming a mama, starts working her way towards us. And she kind of does this big loop right in front of me. So she's coming straight at me, and then she's quartering away real hard, and she's going back. And I don't know if I was just cold or if I was excited that I was going to get a shot. I don't know. I couldn't get my bow back. You do that pull, and I was like, oh, no, I couldn't get my bow back. And Anthony was laughing at me. I could hear him physically laughing. He's like, what's going on? And I let it down, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to force this thing back. And I just I just, like, Incredible Hulk it, dude. I'm surprised I didn't pull the string off the bow when I got it back. But she ended up stopping at 25 yards. Slight quarter, not like real hard or anything like that. And I
Away?
away.
Yeah.
And I just settled that pin right in that crease. And I let it fly and smashed her, man. Absolutely smashed her. Mule kick, took off running probably 25 yards and was literally getting ready to bed down. And I was like, that's it. She's toast. And then next thing you know, that buck just hopped right on her trail and started going right to her. And, you know, he just got her right up out of her bed. She was going to lay there and die. Got her up, and he just pushed her and pushed her and pushed her, and I was watching. They went out of sight at probably, 130, 140 yards or something like that. And at that point, you could tell, like, she wasn't slowing down. He was on her, dogging. And I was a little nervous about that, but I was like, I shot her good. Everything's going to be fine. So we're sitting there, and next thing you know, another doe started coming right towards the stand. And I was like, oh, Anthony, get ready, get your bow, and he got his bow ready. And I'm just sitting there and I'm ranging. I'm just calling out numbers to him. 26, 24, 19, 17, It's just walking right to the base of the tree. And it gets probably like 8 yards and just turns broadside like it was meant to be. And he just hammers it, just slams it. There was so much force when it went through. Typically you get a pass through, like it might stick in the ground. It might just kind of cruise out and be laying on the ground. That one went through so hard and so fast. It slammed into a log and it was sticking perfectly straight up out of the log, just like jammed in there. I was like, oh man. And that deer, I don't know, ran 40 yards and was just standing there. We were watching it and I was like, it's going to go down. Like, don't worry, It was just standing there, wasn't doing anything. He's like, what's going on? And I was like, just wait. And it started doing that wobble. And then it was just toast. And we were high-fiving and celebrating. We were like, yeah, we just doubled up, And then we got down, went over and got his. And I could see my arrow out a ways. That, that nocturnal was just glowing. And he gutted his. And I was like, all right, well, let's take it to the edge of the woods. And then we'll go over and check my arrow and everything, see what's going on. And we walked straight to the arrow because it was dark. I didn't even go to the shot site. Went over to the arrow. And there was just freaking blood everywhere. She was pouring out both sides. Just like Freddy Krueger blood, dude. And we were like, all right, well, he was pushing her. She probably just died somewhere because, there was so much blood, I couldn't imagine that she wasn't dead. We're like, we'll just get your deer out. We'll go. We were going to meet up with the wives and the girlfriends and stuff and go out and get something to eat. We went out and did that, and then we decided to come back. And we were tracking it, and it wasn't blood that you have to be looking for. Like, we were just walking. It was like a carpet of red blood. Walking. And then it started to get a little less, when she was getting down towards the creek. Probably been 200 yards by now that she ran. And I was like, she's going to be laying over the next ridge, everything, And then she got into the creek. And at that point, it was like, all right, spotty. She's staying in a creek. She's literally going straight down the creek. And I'm like, oh, man. Spitting out both sides, but you'd find a drop. And you'd see when she'd get up on the side, she'd start bleeding again. And then she'd get back in the creek. And she was going under some of the logs in the creek, and I know it was just washing blood off because when she would get back on the other side, it was real watery. Like you could almost barely make out the drops of blood. And we were following her, and we got to a point where it was just it was so dark, and I don't know, it was just one of those nights that was really freaking dark, even with the headlamps and stuff. We were like, let's just back out, we'll come back in the morning. And we literally said that, and a coyote went off. And I was like, oh man. So we decided to back out anyway, and we came back the next morning. Went straight to that spot. I marked it on Onyx Last Blood. Went in and found right where we were and just started getting back on blood again. Started bleeding again. And she would bleed real good for probably 4 or 5 feet. And then it'd get crazy spotty again. Like you're looking for pinpricks.
Yeah.
And then she'd start bleeding again. And then back down to pinpricks. I'm like, what is going on right now, And eventually it just led into nothing. Don't know how that deer didn't die. I had my tracker on Onyx, and I walked just grid searching probably 4.5 miles. Back and forth, just covering the whole area as best I could. Anthony had to go. He had to leave for West Virginia and go back down to work, and I kept going right after he left. I kept going for probably 2.5 hours, just grid searching this whole area. Never found a thing. I don't know what happened. It was crazy. But, I feel like it's a learning experience because even when you think you make a great shot, if there's a circumstance that's out of your control, like that buck, she was laying there getting ready to bed and die. That buck got her up, started running her. She just must have got adrenaline, just wanted to get away from him. I don't know. No idea how that happened, but yeah, no, I didn't find her, so
That's
bummed
wild.
about that, man.
It's absolutely wild. I don't know. The way you explain it and everything, and the only thing I can figure is you got that one long quartering away.
Dude, there was so much blood spraying out both sides. I don't know what happened.
It's crazy. Sometimes, like you said, it's tough because you're in. I mean, a lot can happen when you're shooting an arrow at a deer. You know, even with the slightest, maybe it hit a rib and just took off at a different angle, redeflect.
Dude,
you know?
I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
tough.
Like I slammed her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
I've hit deer perfect. I'm like, oh, that deer's dead. But you know, it goes back to a lot of the things that we, you know, when in doubt, back out. Or you know, if you don't see the deer go down, you really gotta, you know, you gotta think that it's gonna need some time to die.
Well, like we went out to eat. You know, we didn't even track it after we found my arrow. We were just like, we'll just go out to eat and we'll come back. So we gave her probably 2.5 hours on a shot that I was positive she was dead on.
Yeah, and you had great blood.
All over the place. That's why I was like, we'll just come back and we'll just walk right to her and find her.
Yep. Which I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing. You know, you did the right thing. You gave her time.
Yeah, I
You
don't
didn't
know.
see her go down. You knew that buck was pushing her, which I think all in all ended up was the main reason you didn't find that
I think so
deer.
too. That's the only thing I can think of that.
Because even if she would have bedded down again at any point, he was going to just keep nosing her.
hmm Well, she never bedded down.
Yeah. So he just kept running her.
He just kept running her and running her. It's like if you jump a deer,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to go forever.
Yep.
You know, unless you get clever enough to sneak up on them and get another shot, they're going to just keep going. And it is what it is. Or you keep jumping them and they don't die.
It's tough, man. That's archery hunting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you do it long enough, you're going to have these kind of experiences more times than you like.
Oh, no, absolutely.
know.
And, you know, it's happened to me before. It hasn't happened a whole lot, but, you know, it's happened to me before. Like you said, if you've been bow hunting any period of time, you're going to lose a deer once in a while.
Yeah.
Just
That's
how
a
it is.
bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Especially
you know?
you. I mean, you're trying to get meat in the freezer,
Yes, sir.
trying to fill some doe tags and do the right thing by getting some meat for you and your family, and unfortunate circumstances happen to hit you again. Seems to be the year of unfortunate circumstances for you.
Yeah, it does. I don't know.
It's
I
not.
don't know what's going on with me now, man, you know, but
You need to go like do some kind of ritual in your backyard, like slay a chicken or something.
don't tempt me.
We'll look up some good voodoo rituals. If anyone has any out there, send them our way.
Send them our way.
We'd be more than happy to. You know,
I'll send
Try
you a video
whatever
of
you
me
got.
trying it. But yeah, I don't know. Rifle season's coming up.
Yep.
I still got doe tags. I'm trying to clean house, I guess. I don't know.
I'm pumped. I'm going up to camp. I got 2 doe tags up there still,
I got one up there.
and I can fill them first week.
Yeah.
Unlike most people, they're gonna be out hunting bucks, which is nice because I fill my buck tag, so it's
Mhm.
I don't have to sit on the sidelines for the first week. I can go up there and try to
Use
keep
it.
slaying away some doe. I've had a pretty good year though, and all in recap, I shot 3 deer this year in PA. You know, 2 doe and a buck, and I got a doe out in Ohio, so I've got 4 deer
Yeah.
this year. So another good year. I think I got 4 last year and 3 the year before that, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Not too shabby, man.
man, it's getting to be a lot of fun. To be honest with you,
Dude, I don't know. I love it in general anyway, so I'm not.
I'm sad to see it go. Like I got back from Ohio and I was just like, man, you know, and I'm not done yet archery hunting. I'm sure I'll get back out over to Ohio, somewhere closer to home.
Yeah.
Here, hopefully, if the weather changes and we get some decent weather to go out.
We'll go. I got a tag too. So does Anthony.
Yeah. I mean, why not spend all that money on the license and tag? I'd like to go out and kill a buck, even if it's nothing special. I'd just like to, you know, for one, I'd like to shoot deer.
I like to
eat
shoot deer too. Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, it was a good year recap. Rifle season's coming up. Excited for that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I like rifle season for the camaraderie, honestly. Like going to camp and hanging out with people, and even if you don't go to camp, doing deer drives and stuff like that. I just think it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like the part. I mean, especially with our camp and stuff, a bunch of people come up. And
Yep.
we usually have quite a bit of fun. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely.
It's bear season right now.
It is. It started today.
So good luck to any of the bear hunters out there.
Yeah.
like to see some bear on the ground,
I would.
get one, send them our way. I would like to see some pictures.
Yeah, or if you want to come on and talk about it. Same for the people who were archery hunting this year. The season's over for archery. It's not over for deer season. You still got late season, but, if you had a cool story, you want to tell us about it, send us an email, reach out to us either way, and, maybe you can come on the podcast, tell us. If you don't want to do that, maybe just write it out, send us a story.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to try to start getting some people on again now that deer season's over and
It's
our
not as
schedules
hectic.
are a lot less hectic.
Yeah.
I was hunting like every day and you were switching jobs over, which is always tough.
Yeah, it was rough.
And then I was out of town for 10 days or whatever. So
I was sad.
we're trying to get these pumped out. Do the best we can.
We'll be getting more consistent again, guys. I know we were doing every week before, and then deer season hit, and we kind of got a little spotty for a second. But you know what? We're going to go right back to being consistent. Don't you worry.
Yep. I'm sorry to all the people that are out there waiting for our episodes on Thursdays. Sometimes we just can't do it.
Sometimes we shoot a deer and we got to go out and track.
It's tough
happens.
life.
It's tough life.
It's hunting season, but it's over. We'll try to focus back on our guests now and rifle season and everything else. Recap some, hopefully some more good stories coming your way.
Absolutely. And if there's a guest you guys want to hear, reach out and tell us about it. I'll reach out to them and try and get them on the best I can. If you guys want to send us a couple checks for like a couple $100, I'll stop bribing people to come on.
I won't turn it down. Can write it out to Charles Headland.
I'll just start
HED.
bribing people with like Domino's pizzas or something.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll just send it right to their house.
Pittsburgh sandwiches and icy light.
No icy light for me. Anyway.
All right, dude. Yep. Let's wrap it up. Anything else you want to talk about? You want to touch base on recap of the season or?
No, I'm good, man. I know I let you talk a lot on this episode, but I didn't have a whole hell of a lot to say. I just like listening to deer stories. So I was just kind of listening, man.
I had a bunch of them from the trip, which was cool.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I was trying to save them in my mind, like, I want to talk about this.
Yep.
I want to talk about that. I can ramble on about anything, but I had 10 days worth of stories in there, so.
It was a beautiful thing, man.
We fit it in. It worked.
I like it.
Now I'm back home to do nothing but watch the snow. We got a lot more snow up here, and now it's all gone.
Yeah, pretty much the Belton today.
Hopefully it's up to camp still. I'd like to have a nice snowy first day rifle.
That'd be beautiful.
Oh,
It's supposed to stay
best.
cold, so it might happen. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens, but
So for the best, good luck, guys. Hopefully you get it done in rifle season if you didn't get it done in archery season, or if you've been waiting for rifle season to come around,
absolutely.
go get them.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at the Whitetail Distraction Podcast. You can also send us an email at the Whitetail Distraction Podcast at gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. We still have hats available. We like talking to people. You can just say, hey. You can say, we don't like you. You can say, you're the best. I want to be your best friend.
We need friends, so that's why we're doing this.
Anyway, but the rest of the season's coming up. Good luck to everybody, and have fun. Shoot straight and be safe.
That's right.
The distraction's real. Distraction's real.